Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I've got for you a tank review in the CS-52 LIS, the tier 8 premium Polish medium tank, which I only recently picked up. I got it on the advent calendar because I've been looking at this thing for a while. People have said it's fairly good, so I thought I'd pick it up and have a go to see what it was like, and I'm kind of enjoying it so far, I'm not going to lie. But anyway, in this tank review, I will be showing you, this is some Ace Tank gameplay. We will then follow that with a quick comparison between this and some other tanks of kind of similar playstyle and class. And then I will take you through the equipment setup and like what they call field mods. I always forget what they're called. Field mods at the end of the video to give you guys the a nice impression of what this tank is all about. And hopefully, if you're thinking about buying it, let you know what the good parts and the bad parts are. So first things first, the gameplay you're watching is on Ruinberg. We are in a bottom tier matchup. There are tier 10s on the enemy team. Quite a lot of tier 10s actually, 4 tier 10s on each team. They've got a Leopard, an M5Y, Grill, and E4. So yeah, not too bad. Most of those tanks we can pen in places. It's not like Mouses or E100s, stuff like that. I7s, Chieftains, things that we're going to have issues with. But yeah, so during this gameplay, I will be quoting a couple of stats to you guys. These are all base values, so this is basically when you haven't got a crew in the tank, you haven't got any equipment, anything like that. So all of these values can be buffed up a lot, and I'll show you the true values of kind of what I'm actually sitting at when we go into the equipment and everything like that. Also, I'll probably be drawing quite a lot of comparisons to the T-44-100 for a couple of reasons. Firstly, this tank is kind of similar to the T-44-100. And secondly, I think a lot of people have got the T-44-100 or at least know how it plays. So it's quite a good tank to compare to. And just so you can get like roughly a good feel for what's going on. Also, everything just got spotted. Everything is mum just got spotted on the 9-0 line, sorry. So I'm trying to pick up some shots on there. So, what is this tank all about? Well, probably the main difference between this thing and the T-44-100 is this tank has got a 105mm gun as opposed to the 100mm gun on the T-44. That means that this thing, as you're about to see, does 320 average damage, which is very, very nice. Probably the main difference between this and the T-44-100. And probably one of the big things that, like, you actually notice it's the biggest difference you notice, right? I really can't speak this morning. However, unlike a lot of tanks where when you gain alpha you lose DPM, this thing does actually have the exact same DPM as the T-44 with 100 base DPM. No, 2000 base DPM. I don't know where I got 100 from. I think I was reading T-44-100. But 2000 base DPM, which is really, really, really nice. It's usually in World of Tanks, if you can have a slightly higher alpha for the same DPM, it's usually better because you're a lot better in peaking fights. Like, you're able to deal more damage in a one versus one trade, which is always quite nice. I was just looking around there to see where the Leopard was. He has lost a load of HP, so he has fallen back. But fortunately, he is still in a position to support. Firing across at 705, moving across the middle. Unfortunately, we don't pen him on the first shell, but the decent rate of fire, as I'm just talking about, means we do manage to finish him off on the second. This tank has got 208mm as a standard pen, so not too bad. Much better than the 44-100, which again is another nice thing. 252, I want to say, on the premium, and a nice shot there into the 7-1 as well to finish him off, picking up 2 kills fairly quickly. And now the enemy Progetto is pushing to the middle. We still need to be quite careful here because we are kind of outnumbered. We've got 2 TDs at the back. I've got a Grill right up with me for support. But obviously, a Grill isn't that flexible in this kind of position. We do peek the Progetto. We've only got tier 8s left on this flank, so I was like, I need to play relatively aggressively. I've got a load of HP. But anyway, as I was saying, having the higher alpha is really nice. It is better to have higher alpha to a point. You still want a nice, relatively low rate of fire, though, because if you don't, you are really going to struggle with people pushing you on your reload. For example, even if you gave the Death Star the same DPM as something with a lot lower alpha, people are still going to push the Death Star on its reload because its alpha is so high. They know that you've got a long reload and you are going to be reloading for a while. But this is kind of a nice happy medium. Being able to do 320 alpha at tier 8, I actually find it a lot better than the 250, and I think in some ways I do prefer this tank to the T-44-100. Just because you are you're able to, when you take a bad trade, you're still doing more damage. Like, you trade with a Renegade or something, you 320 for 360 rather than 250 for 360. And in your good trades, when you're trading with another medium tank, you're just obviously doing more damage, which is very nice. Other than that as well, this thing does have really nice gun handling. Again, not quite as good as the T-44, but still really good and a lot better than something like the 274 as well. 2.3 seconds aim time, 0.36 dispersion. Obviously, again, this is all base, so with equipment and everything, you can bring that down, and it's actually quite a nice handling gun. Again, literally all of the gun handling stats are like just a tiny bit worse than the T-44-100, and that's kind of where this thing's balanced against that thing. It has better alpha, better PEM, but you do lose slightly, and I want to emphasize really slightly on the gun handling. Both are good, and again, it's just really personal preference. Again, we peak against the Progetto, do 264 to him, bit of a low roll there. Mobility on this tank as well, similar kind of story, basically the same as the 44-100, but just not quite as good. 2 kilometers an hour slower at 50 as opposed to 52. Reverse speed's 3 kilometers an hour slower at 20 rather than 23, and your power to weight is about 2 power to weight less, but you're still pushing 20 horsepower per ton, which is not too bad. Tank traverse, turret traverse, both decent. The tank traverse is considerably slower than the 44-100, but it's not bad. Like, the 44-100 traverse is at 51 degrees a second, which, if anything, is probably a bit overkill. This thing's at 40. It's a little bit more sluggish, but not too bad. I do make a poor trade here. I drive out in front of the WZ-120. To be fair, I didn't think he'd kill me, and he didn't, but he only left me with the Lord's finest singular hit point rather than several. So I'm now on 1 HP, so I'm, yeah, trying not to die. We have also run out of AP rounds here, so we are now down to our APCR, and me being hesitant, not knowing where to shoot this guy, and then shooting him after he's dead kind of cost me the shot. But yeah, this thing's fairly mobile. It's mobile enough, like, it's still decent mobility. And I'm comparing this, you've got to think, I'm comparing this to a T-44-100. The T-44-100 is an incredibly good tank, and it's the bar that a lot of other tanks are measured up to, as I'm doing with this. So when you compare this tank to a lot of others, it's actually really, really nice. Armor is basically identical to the 44-100. It's non-HEable, but you're going to get penned by most things. Every now and again you will bounce something, especially from lower tier tanks. And the turret is half decent, but if tier 8s are firing gold, they're probably going to go through it. I do bait here to make people think that I'm going left and then go straight down the road. But yeah, all in all, this is a very, very, very nice tank. And I do really like it. Like I say, I think at the minute I'm actually preferring it to the T-44-100. Actually preferring doing the 320 Alpha. E4's completely ignoring me because, you know, he thinks I'm a tier 8 medium tank. He's got things like a grill, an E3 kind of problem, and a Leopard 1. I'm the only tier 8 left in this game. Everything else is tier 10. I don't really know why I took that shot so aggressively. I heard the E4 fire. I knew he was on reload. There was absolutely no point in me doing that. Grill finishes off the E4. Enemy grill finishes off our grill. And then I know that this grill's reloading. Go for the tracks. We do miss the tracks, which is unfortunate. I heard our E3 fire, so I know I'm going to get at least another shot in. We managed just about to squeeze another shot in. Go through the hull and actually take off the outside track of the grill, which is really nice. The grill kills our E3. Our Leopard's going to know he's on reloader. Now it's just a chase to see who can get the damage. I was going to go right and try and go all the way around, but I knew I wouldn't get there in time. So I go for the cheeky shot through the window. And fortunately, we do manage to high roll. 2 little high rolls at the end there, 338 and 339. Mean we finish off the grill. And a very, very nice game in this tank, especially considering it was a tier 10 matchup. We didn't engage that many tier 10s until the end. Obviously, the Leopard a bit at the start. But I think that's one of the main reasons this was nice, because I think I did more damage than this. No, actually, I don't think I did. I think I did 4.2k, but in a full tier 8 game, and I don't think that was an ace. But very, very nice. 4 kills, 4,764 damage. Only blocked 390 with our armor, which isn't particularly great. But you don't rely on your armor in this tank. If you're trying to take hits with the armor, you're definitely doing it wrong. I will also point out this thing's got 380 view range, which is the same as the 44-100. Not particularly good at tier 8, and as you can probably see, I haven't really built into it, which is why I don't have max view range. However, in a tier 8 game, or especially if you're like top tier against tier 6s, the view range is still half decent. Anyway, let's go jump over into Tanks GG and we'll go down the stats of the vehicle, compare it to others. I know I've already been doing it, so we'll do it nice and quickly. And then I'll jump into the garage and we'll go through the equipment setup and everything like that. So here we go, guys, nice and quick. I'll try and do this quickly because I was pretty much comparing the whole way through the replay as well. And I've also left the CS-52, the tech tree tank, on the right-hand side, just if you want to compare stats with it. I might refer to it a bit, but I'm going to try not to. I'm mainly going to be comparing this tank to the T-44. Exactly. So first things first, like I said, 105mm gun as opposed to 100. You do the 320 Alpha, which is a lot nicer than the 250 on the 44. And I didn't actually realise that's better than the tech tree tank as well, which is kind of nice. However, DPMs across the board are all pretty much the exact same, which does give this thing the advantage of having that higher Alpha. As I was saying a lot in the replay, just gives you a lot better opportunity for 1v1 pokes. If you do trade poorly, it's not going to be quite as poorly. So, yeah, really not too bad there, which is very, very nice. Shell velocity is pretty decent on the standard rounds. I can't remember what it is on the premium rounds. You do lose out a bit with ammo capacity, as you saw in the replay. I did run out of standard rounds halfway through the game, so I did have 5 gold. It's not a huge issue, like being able to do 11.2k damage is not tragic. Doesn't really compare so much to the T-44-100, but it's not an issue. Gun handling, again, like I said, it looks worse than the T-44-100. When you compare this to something like the CS-53, which is probably fairly average of most tier 8 tanks, it's actually pretty good. 2.3 seconds aim time, 0.36 dispersion, and when we jump into the garage, you'll see what you can actually get those down to. Dispersions are decent, especially on turret traverse. Dispersion's really nice. Not as good as the T-44-100, but again, you're comparing it to a T-44-100. Like, the T-44-100 is really, really good. So, you know, 7 degrees of gun depression, very, very nice. You do miss out on a degree over the tech tree tank, but obviously, it's a lot better than, like, what was it, the Mod 1 used to be, the T-44 used to be, everything like that. Like, it's so much better than that. Again, you do lose out to T-44-100 a little bit on mobility, but really not that much. Like, it's really tiny, tiny differences. 50 kilometers an hour forwards as opposed to 52, 20 backwards as opposed to 23. Again, better than the tech tree tank. Better horsepower per ton than the tech tree tank, not quite as good as the T-44. Terrain resistance is worse than the T-44, better than the tech tree tank. Turret traverse, decent, 43 degrees a second. Again, exact same thing. Tank traverse, now looking at it a bit more, is a little on the low side, but again, it's not an issue. I've never gone, ooh, traverse speed's a bit dodgy. Like, it doesn't really matter that much. Armor, it's not great. I'm not going to go into the armor viewer because just try not to take hits. If you do take a hit, like, hopefully it'll bounce it, but it probably won't. In a tier 6 game, you can probably go hold down and actually use your turret and you'll do alright. But other than that, I wouldn't really recommend using the armor at all. 1300 HP, pretty bog standard for a tier 8 medium tank. And like I said, 380 meters view range, which is pretty much the same across the board. So like I said, it's practically a T-44-100, a little bit worse in most aspects, but it does get the 320 Alpha and the slightly higher standard PEM, which is very, very nice. Like, don't get me wrong, it is very, very nice, and I think I actually prefer this tank. Like, as many tanks as there are at tier 8, like the medium tanks that have 240 Alpha, 250 Alpha, 230 Alpha, depending if it's British, Russian, or everything else, I do prefer a slightly higher Alpha. I think that the best medium tanks at tier 8 are obviously, in my opinion, the Barask, the Progetto. And yes, the Progetto has 240 Alpha, but it has the auto reloader, and the Barask is 360. I just think that 240 is a bit too low these days. Like, especially if you get put in a poor matchup. Nobody cares in a tier 9 or tier 10 tank about taking 240. Like, they really don't care. They'll drive around the corner, shoot you anyway. Not saying they would for 320, but at least, again, you trade slightly better. Like, it's just a much nicer Alpha to work with. And when trading against tier 8 heavies as well, like, even if you say 390, whereas most things these days are, well, 440 or at least 400, 320 against that is so much better than 250 in my opinion. So I actually think I play better in the list than I do the T-44. Although, to be fair, I haven't played the T-44 for a long time, like, seriously. So it might just be that I'm the better player now. Who knows? That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound like me. Anyway, let's jump into the garage and I'll just run you through the equipment and everything nice and quickly. So here we go, guys, nice and quickly. I'll just try and run through this. As you can see, my crew isn't actually amazing in this tank because I haven't played the CS-63 a huge amount. The only other crew trainer is the Poodle. I think I've played like 2 games in the Poodle. And then that's one of the main reasons I bought this thing, is to train up my CS-63 crew, because I do use it in Clan Wars, I do use it in advances and things, so it definitely should be better than it is. First things first, equipment. I've actually gone for a fairly basic bitch equipment setup. Gun rammer, vert stabs, and ventilation. I do think after playing the tank a bit, I could probably drop the vert stabs and potentially either, I'm thinking potentially either turbo or probably turbo. You could go optics if you wanted to. You could run this kind of like a more of a spotting setup. You could probably go optics and turbo, try and play it a lot quicker and everything like that. I would probably say I'm going to drop vert stabs, add turbo, just be a quicker tank, keep the vents, and keep the rammer, obviously. But there are several options. If you wanted to drop vert stabs, go for rotation and have this but with rotation, you could do. If you wanted to drop the vents and go for turbo, you could do. Or if you wanted to drop vents and go for optics, you probably could as well. I'd say that it's a fairly basic medium tank, like pretty much you do well, obviously, short of setting it with improved radio set like Caminet and binos. Most things are going to work for you at least a bit on this tank. Like, nothing's really going to kill it that badly. So definitely there are several options. I'd probably recommend more of a basic setup, maybe, like I say, going with the turbo. So, as I said, in my setup, this tank has actually... This garage is really bad for looking at stats. We'll do that so you can actually see them. Has got 2,500 DPM, which is really, really nice. Like, with the rammer, I'm using improving consumable, everything like that. It really does bump this up and boost it down. Like I said, about 7.5 second gun reload. Really, really nice. 0.31 dispersion. Amazing. Like, that's so good. You don't really need to do much more than that. And 2 seconds aim time. Like, the gun handling is just so good. Yes, in the stats, it doesn't look as good as the T-44-100s, but compare that to so many other tier 8 mediums. Such a good gun. Like, it's such a good gun. Moving on to field mods, I'd go for... like, your traverse speed is already good enough. Like, 47 degrees per second after taking this. And, where is mobility? I've lost it. 43 degrees a second traverse. You can afford to lose... Like, you can afford that. And losing... So, when you lose a module, it's not that bad. Like, to be fair, I'd probably potentially even just not take either of these. Like, neither really matters. You don't need the traverse speed, and at the same time, you don't really need that. So you could take neither. I've taken the module durability just because. Improved sight, better aim circle size. That gets you to the 0.31. It's really, really nice. Just, you know, better accuracy. You can play it at longer ranges, especially against tier 10s and stuff like that. And then anti-reflective headlights. I've boosted concealment. Again, I don't actually really know why. Why have I done that? Did I do that accidentally? I think I did that accidentally. I think I picked the wrong one. We'll go for turbocharger tuning, so we get 2 kilometers an hour, better reverse speed, and better suspension repair, because I play this... I very rarely play it like a sniper, and I don't know why you'd want to use that anyway. I think I probably did that by mistake, to be fair. I haven't actually picked a second slot category yet, because as I said, like, it's... In this current setup, I can't actually use it. I would probably say, you know what? We'll do this now. We'll do it live in the video. I think what I'm going to do is swap the vert stabs out for a turbo. We'll swap that out. And then we'll move that into there. And then what we can do is we can pick probably, if we go for, where are my field mods? Come on, Max, sort it out. It doesn't actually matter either. Probably go, we'll go survivability just in case I ever want to take hardening on this thing for like Clan Wars or something. I don't bloody know, don't ask me. Just to boost it as well. So now we go, what do we go? 55 kilometers an hour, which is nice because turbo and boosted slot, and 22 horsepower per ton as well, which is very, very nice. And yeah, that is pretty much the CS-52 LIS. Would I recommend this thing? 100%. It's a great premium tank. It makes decent credits. It's really very strong. jack of all trades, pretty much. It's good at pretty much everything. It's not awful at anything, really. So, yeah, it's just a good all-round tank, pretty much. And I'm not really going to say a lot more, because otherwise I'll end up keeping on waffling. And this video is probably already a lot longer than it should be, because I talk too much. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Standard YouTuber crap applies. Make sure you're subscribing. Subscribed. Make sure that you've got notifications on. Give the video a like if you've enjoyed. And I hope you found it useful in any way. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, guys. And I'll see you next time.